Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Heritage Kingston. Welcome, Councillor Doherty, after your short council meeting last night. You have an agenda. Looking for amendments or motion to approve the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda. William, seconder. Jeremy. Discussion. Seeing none, those in favour. Those opposed, you have an agenda. Confirmation of the minutes of August 21st, which I left my copy at home, so if there's any changes, Derek's going to keep me up to date. Mover to get that on the table, Councillor Doherty, seconded by Dunn. Discussion on those minutes, corrections, suggestions. Seeing none then, those in favour of confirming those minutes, those opposed, you have a set of minutes. Pecuniary interest known now in any of the items, and a reminder that if you suddenly realise you do have, you will so say. Presentations, none. Delegations, none. Briefings, none. Business, cultural heritage, nope. Policy development, heritage assets? Nope. 119 Barrack Street?
Mr. Chair, I can just report for the committee's benefit that I have been in discussion with the applicant for this one, and they've agreed to extend their statutory time limit for their permit. He is just in discussion with his sign company to refine the design of the sign so he can come back with a more appropriate design. So that'll be yet to be seen, but I'm thinking positive here. So we'll bring it back when we get some refined plans.
Thank you very much. So that will be left until... So, do you need a motion to defer it?
So just as a point here, so this motion is back on the floor. If it is the will of the committee, you can vote to either approve or not approve, or amend or defer, but something will need to happen with it today.
Something needs to happen today. The owner then is asking and has agreed to an extension of time so that he can get a better proposal. What do you want to do with this motion? Councillor Doherty? To defer? Is the next meeting?
I'll just say the next meeting is October 16th, but it looks like staff may want to make a comment on the time.
Mr. Chair, I am not sure how long this discussion will take. I would suggest that perhaps just an open-ended deferral would be appropriate in this case. We will bring it back as soon as we have some refined plans, but as these things go, it's hard to tell if that'll be October, November, or later. But I'm sure he's anxious to get a sign up, but I just know the time crunch, and I would prefer not next meeting.
If the committee would be willing to entertain a suggestion, rather than specifying a meeting, it's helpful to put even a slight time frame, so you could say by end of Q4, which would cover any time before the end of this year. So just a comment for the mover of the deferral motion.
Okay, so the motion then to defer until before the end of the December meeting. Okay, the seconder? Everybody, Jennifer, I was looking at. Discussion? Seeing none, those in favour, those opposed, so that then is deferred until future time.
That's the fastest application you've ever done.
Oh, we're going to get through these. We're going to be away by 10, don't you worry. We've also said that before, haven't we? That takes us on to page 14, 67 Sydenham Street. The request for an approval of a sign.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This application is at 67 Sydenham Street. It's on the east side of Sydenham Street. It encompasses the entire block between William and Earl Streets. It's known as the Annandale Apartment Complex, which includes parts of the 1848 Carruthers Villa, the 1873 addition by Robert Gage, the apartment itself, and its annex from the 1920s. The application is the property is part of the Old Sydenham Heritage Conservation District, designated under Part 5. It is noted as significant to the district. I won't read through this whole section, but suffice it to say, the courtyard trees and fencing, stone fencing along Earl Street is noted as a heritage feature of this property. What is before this committee today is an application to erect an educational interpretive display panel or sign for our policy interpretation purposes along the Earl Street frontage of this property, entirely on the applicant's property. The sign will be similar to that at the Anna Lane property on Queen Street. I understand it'll be 1.8 meters by about 0.8 meters, and it's an angle-mounted sign on about a meter-high steel posts. The design is by Annie Dalton Designs of Perth. It will include archival photos, text, timelines, and map. It's not to be illuminated. It will be located at the foot of one of the large maple trees on this property, just inside the fence line. It will require a section of the hedgerow, about 2 meters, to be removed. However, the iron and stone fence will not be disturbed. In terms of our review, this new sign will be located entirely on private property, not the municipal right-of-way. Staff have nonetheless reviewed its location and size against the various broad policies in the district plan. As noted in our report, the new sign will be simple, non-illuminated, and located as to not detract from the heritage attributes of the property. It should be noted that while the sign is supportable from a heritage perspective, we have a similar issue with this property as we did with the Spire, that it is zoned residential, and therefore the sign is not permitted under the sign bylaw. So either the applicants need to reduce it to a rather small sign, which I don't think is their intention, or to approach the appeals committee of the city to ask for an exemption to this sign. And I understand the applicants are currently undertaking that process. So we have included that. This is a site plan showing the proposed location down on the bottom of your screen. And our recommendation, Mr. Clerk, I would note that condition number 2, I think, should include the word "as necessary," condition number 1 is a optional condition as far as reducing the sign or getting approval, so they may not necessarily need a sign permit. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, dash comments are on page 38. Are they correctly included? Okay. Members of the public, comments? Good. Committee members, questions? Don.
I'm concerned that this kind of interpretive panel is put into the same category as a commercial sign. I mean, surely there is a difference. And maybe there wasn't any policy in the guidelines, district guidelines or anything like that about this sort of thing, but to me it doesn't seem appropriate to require this sign to follow the same sort of parameters as a commercial sign, because it's not commercial. It's not intended to sort of catch the eyes of motorists and everybody else going by. And also we have these other examples, one at Anna Lane and one at the Elizabeth Cottage that have already been approved. So I just wonder if staff could comment on the appropriateness of applying the sign bylaw to this kind of panel.
Mr. Chair, I can only say that appropriateness isn't really under consideration here. It is a sign as defined under the sign bylaw, and therefore we are required to consider the sign bylaw and its requirements for these type of signs. I believe the members' concerns are felt elsewhere, and I understand we may be looking at this bylaw again in the future for similar things, because like I said, I don't think this is the only person that's having a concern in this respect. So,
Do you want to comment? Questions? Seeing none then, any final comments?
We'll get that after the final comments.
Yeah, we'll get that after.
So.
It's a part 5, so we'll get any final comments and then we'll get the motion.
Well, just one that, although I've said I don't think this should be sort of put into the same category as commercial signs, nevertheless, maybe the sign is a bit larger than appropriate. And, you know, we have many fine buildings in Kingston and in the downtown. If all of them decide to have this kind of panel 6 foot wide or something like that, it might be considered inappropriate. So I think it might be better if the applicants reduce the size of the sign somewhat.
Okay, other comments? Seeing none then, we cannot amend the motion, so the as necessary, which you have included in part 2, which is not in your printed version, is part of the motion that you're going to be voting on. Looking for a mover to propose the motion as on the screen with the as necessary added in line 2. Jeremy. Seconder, William, thank you. Those in favour of the motion as is? Those opposed? Thank you. So that is carried. And at some point, Ryan, then we might expect comments back on signs in heritage districts or signs in general, or it's an interesting new thought there. Good. Thank you. Page 43 takes us to 5 Court Street, the courthouse.
So this application on 5 Court Street is on the north side of Court Street. It includes the entire south half of the block between West and Berry Streets. It is a City of Kingston-owned property known as the Frontenac County Courthouse. The subject property includes the landmark and nationally recognized limestone courthouse building from the 1880s and a number of mature trees, as well as the Kirkpatrick Fountain out front. The designation is extensive on this property. As you're well aware, it was designated as one of the earlier ones in the city in 1976. It's a National Historic Site that was recognized in the 1980s. It is subject to a heritage easement agreement with the Ontario Heritage Trust, and it is part of the Old Sydenham Heritage Conservation District. The cupolas, which are subject to this application, are specifically noted in the designating bylaw. So what is before us today is to repair and replace and recreate as necessary the east and west cupolas on the top of the building itself, the courthouse building. The applicants wish to gain approval to repair and restore the 2 cupolas. The intention is to replace the metal roofing and all wooden and metal features of the cupola in order to stop water infiltrating into the building. The applicant's plans to use as much of the existing material as possible while retaining the appearance and authenticity of these historic features with new detailed replicated as needed. So in terms of our review, a detailed assessment it was prepared and is included in your agenda package. It notes that most of the materials appear to be original. However, they are noted as in very poor condition. The condition report notes, quote, localized structural failure, unquote, in the east cupola and severe deterioration in the western cupola. The applicants have prepared detailed plans for the restoration and replication of these features as necessary. All features on these cupolas, including the decorative Corinthian capitals, metal finials with leaf motif, wooden louvers, metal roofing, and the ornamental grills are to be restored and replicated. The proposed works to repair the metal and wooden portions of these structures will improve their longevity and prevent further deterioration of the building. Staff support the proposed works as it will conserve the city-owned heritage asset and prominent building of national significance into the future. It is noted that this initiative will require a number of years to complete. Staff have included a recommendation to exempt the procedural bylaws standard 3-year time limit on heritage permits to a 5-year period. In terms of our circulation, the building staff require a building permit. Forestry notes that equipment material should not be placed around some of the existing trees. The Ontario Heritage Trust was circulated. As I mentioned, they have an easement on this property. Approval was given by the trust in July, the end of July, for these works. So the city has gone through the proper channels and gained approval from them. This was circulated to this committee with no concerns expressed. And Mr. Chair, we recommend approval with the special condition to extend the procedural bylaw and a number of conditions. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Members of the committee, you have dash comments starting on page 76. Are they correctly reported? Seeing no objections there, members of the public? Public's off this way. What's Michaela? Okay. Committee members, questions? Don.
Just had one small query in my dash comment, and you can see from the pictures of the cupolas that were shown that some of the louvers are different from other louvers, and I wondered whether that was going to be sort of corrected if correction is appropriate in the final repairs.
They alternate. Was that original, do you think? Between the large and the small?
Well, Mr. Chair, I'm not sure I can comment on that. I've never been quite that close to the structure. I understand by the plans that the louver pattern will be a uniform pattern, but I'm happy to hand that over to Mr. Cornlock, who's the project manager for the city's facilities, who perhaps has a more definite answer on that question.
Oh, you got one there.
Staff one.
That's it. Good, thank you.
Hello, Mr. Chair. I have with us here today, I'm Dan Cornelick, Project Manager with Facilities Management and Construction Services. I have our heritage architect, Charles Hazel, with Taylor Hazel and Associates, and I'd like to ask him to respond to that question if you
Good morning. The question has to do with the apparent inconsistency of the louver design. The louvers, there are 8 louvers on each of the cupolas. 4 of them were removed in order to allow for greater air movement through the cupolas from the supply and exhaust for the building. They were retrofitted into the cupolas probably in the 70s, I would guess, and in order to deal with the air intake and exhaust, the existing louvers, which were actually blind louvers, they are not functional, were modified, and as you see, there are metal louvers of a finer detail, I suppose, that have been inserted in every second one. Our proposal acknowledges that you need the air intake and exhaust to function properly. What we're doing to achieve that is to reintroduce the louvers that are covered by a kind of eyelet or eyelid over them and get them back into functional order and to restore the louvers to their original design, which is as non-functioning louvers. The details that you see in the drawings have been refined further from their description to give a detailed understanding of that, and we'd be very pleased to make that available to you. But suffice to say that the louvers will be restored as per the original design, and you'll see the very lovely louvers at the top, which are actually cast louvers, and they will be now visible and fully functional as a result of this work.
Thank you. Is that okay, Don? Good, thank you, sir. Other questions? Seeing none then, final comments, which will go on to council on this. Councillor Doherty. Good, thank you. Comments? Councillor Neal.
I'm going to wander a tad off topic, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just curious, the fountain, is there any in the near future plans to revitalize or to improve the fountain, or is it...
Yeah, fountains are up, Councillor Neal.
Are they?
You
Okay.
know that.
I will ask you that question outside of here. Thank you.
Gives him time to think of the answer as well, doesn't it? Nicely done, that's right. Are there relevant questions you need? Okay, so you have the motion on the screen, the building permit needed, the compliance with the city's masonry restoration policies, etc., etc. Need a mover. Councillor Neal, seconder. William, thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, those in favour? Those opposed? That is carried. All I can say is good luck. I'm glad they've given you 5 years on this one. We will all be watching with interest. It's an amazing one that you're doing up there. Okay, that brings us to 55 William Street, which is on page 79. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This property is at 58 William Street. It's on the south side of William Street, east of Wellington, in the Old Sydenham Heritage District. The subject property forms part of a 3-unit, 2.5-story brick row terrace that was built in the 1854. Includes civic addresses 56 and 60. So it doesn't include them, but it's part of the row. The designation is noted as significant in the district, and the property valuation includes a few of the elements of heritage value on this property, which are the massing, the scale, the brick and stone, the arch windows and doorways, essentially the front elevation, which is important to remember in this application. This is the rear of the building, and a previous application was approved to demolish this greenhouse and construct a rear addition with balcony. That was given by council in October of last year. The application before us is to make a minor change to that previous approval. So on the left of your screen is the approval from 2018, and on the right is what is being proposed. And you can see a couple of minor changes that is being proposed before you today. It has to do with a stepping back of the balcony slightly to allow skylights in the above the first floor addition. I understand it's a kitchen, and they're looking for additional light. You can see it a little better here, how the balcony is stepped back slightly with the glass roofing, ceiling. So in terms of our review, the appropriateness of this addition in itself was reviewed in the 2018 report, which we've included a link in the agenda package to that report. Then in our initial assessment, we note, quote, that the new rear porch addition with balcony complies with the policies and guidelines of the old Sydenham Heritage Conservation District Plan, unquote. So what we're looking at today specifically has to do with the skylights and the slider balcony. And we note in section 541 of the district plan, it is the introduction of the new skylights will be a subtle change to the approved plans in accordance with those policies, and will only be visible by adjacent neighbors, and will have no impact on the heritage attributes of the district or the property. So in terms of our circulation, we didn't receive any technical comments. We didn't receive any concerns from this committee when they were circulated. So, Mr. Chair, our recommendation is before you to amend the previous approval and with a number of conditions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There were no dash comments, is that correct? Anyone else get lost? Okay. Members of the public? Which is... Keep on looking at you today as a member of the public. Committee questions? Oh, you're a good group today, aren't you? Final comments from the committee? Okay, seeing none then, we need a motion to approve what is on the screen, moved by Jennifer, seconded by Councillor Neil. Any further comments? Seeing none, those in favour? Those opposed? That is carried. Okay, so we have the working group reports starting on page 95. I know some of you are members of these. Historic properties on 95, heritage assets on 98. And Paul, you want to make a comment on one of these?
Mr. Chair, commenting on the Heritage Assets Working Group notes, just more by way of a heads up, this is what we were discussing at our most recent meeting, will be coming forward to this committee in the near future. Specifically, the Civic Collection Management Plan. We have been in the process of redoing our collections-related policies to bring it up to date, to streamline it, and also to make it better aligned with how we actually operate, in part to integrate public art more closely and archaeology better into the collection now that we actually have archaeological holdings. So that you will see upcoming in the near future. The other side is deaccessions. Any good collection management requires housekeeping periodically, and what we're looking at, we're at a stage now with the civic collection, as we've been working on it over the last number of years, is determining how best to manage it, what items actually help us to tell the story of Kingston. And so a number of pieces will be recommended to be deaccessioned, and I can explain that further when the time comes.
Good, thank you very much. Other thoughts on those working groups? And thank you, members that go to those meetings. I know they're always interesting and also time-consuming. An update regarding emergency approvals, 181 Sydenham. Oh, I'm sorry, we need a motion to approve before we go on the 3 working group reports. Need a mover to accept those reports, done and seconded by Councillor Neil. Further comments on those? If none, those in favour of accepting the 3 reports? Those opposed? That is carried and accepted. Sorry.
Just an update on one of the items on the working group that may be of interest to this group. The matter of the sign on the corner of Wellington and Johnson. The sign's being taken down.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay, 181 Sydenham.
This is just simply for information. An approval was given for a security fence. The owner had concerns about unwanted people in his alley on the corner on the property on Sydenham Street, so he was given approval for a fence.
Okay, thank you. I believe there are no motions. Any notices of motion? Seeing none, other business. Derek, you have
Just want to provide a quick update. We did have one committee member resign, Mr. Ashley Johnson, who actually did not attend any meetings, so you may not be aware he was actually on the committee. As a result, the clerk's department will be recruiting for a replacement member as part of our fall recruitment, so you will have a new partner in crime by early 2020. So once that comes out, if you know of anybody who's interested in applying, let them know and they can apply via the city's website.
Yeah, that was the comment I was going to make, that if you do know people who would be interested, make sure that they're looking out. Correspondence? Oh, Councillor Doherty.
I just want to share a little bit of a learning journey I've been on, or we've been on since the last Heritage meeting. You may recall that when the Spires representative of the Spires applicant, Bruce Downey, suggested that we would, what did he suggest? That we would alter the wording and allow for the everything to go ahead and for a space for the applicant to deal with the other levels of staff, and so therefore we should approve kind of the staff's motion was to decline the lamp and the bench. And Bruce Downey asked if we can actually kind of turn that over and say we will approve it as long as the applicant goes to the other departments. So that's the kind of proposal that he had in mind, and then we said we would bring that to council. So that ended up a lot more complicated than any of us anticipated. And the complication was, and I think it's important to share so that we all learn from that, because it certainly has been a learning experience. And encroachment is a challenge for the city. There are bylaws, there are strict bylaws. It would have created a lot of changes necessary to actually do this. So it wasn't just a simple thing that that the applicant could talk and kind of negotiate with the other departments and regarding the lamp and the bench. So we ended up resolving it at last night's meeting, and the applicant is happy to work with the city to enter into a licensing agreement. It'll all work out, but I just wanted to share with you when it was a part 5, and staff had a reason for not approving that part of it. So we have to be a bit cautious if we go against what staff are. I think we need to ask, why did staff not approve it in the first place? So just a lesson learned. Thanks.
Yeah, no, thank you for updating us on that, because I know it was an odd situation we got into. Date and place of next meeting. Oh,
Just one other item I wanted to mention. I sent out an email yesterday regarding a site visit on King Street West. I've received a number of replies, and I just wanted to let the committee know I have space for one more. Otherwise, we will have a quorum, and I'll need to do 2 separate meetings. So if you are interested and you haven't let me know, please let me know soon so we can arrange that with the owner.
okay, that's on one of the Hales cottages, right? Yeah. Anything else? Please note in large letters in the minutes that we had looked for a motion to adjourn at 10:08 by my watch. Anyway, mover? Yeah, I think so. Everybody moved it. I think you choose a person. Those in favor? Thank you. Excellent. Thank you very much.